Let's not waste any time. Here are 10 questions with solutions for the math portion of the SAT. We need to write an expression for this situation. It says that a babysitter earns $8 an hour for babysitting 2 children and an additional $3 tip when both children are put to bed on time. So looking at these equations down here, with the situation we have here, the $3 is either a you get it or you don't. So that's just going to be a +3. It's not dependent on how many times it happens. It's just a $3 tip. So that means the 3 should not be with any variable or letter. But the 8, they get $8 per hour. So that's the one that's affected by how many hours they're doing it. So in this case, it says here 8x plus 3, where x is the number of hours, which is indeed what we want to be affecting the 8. So our answer is A. So in this question, it gives you an equation, and it wants to know what the ratio x over y would be equal to. So essentially, we want to reconfigure this equation up here to get x over y by itself on one side. The first thing I'm going to do is distribute this 3 to both of these guys up here, giving me 3x plus 3y is equal to y. Then I'm going to subtract the 3y from both sides to get all the y's on one side and the x's on the other. That's going to give me 3x still over here, and y minus 3y is going to give me negative 2y. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 3, giving me that x is equal to negative 2 over 3y. And then I'm going to divide y to this side to give me that x over y, and it'll cancel out over here. Meaning our final answer is negative 2 over 3, which is B. For this question, they're wanting to know which of these answers would correctly solve this system of equations up here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at this second equation down here and realize that I have 1 over 8x minus 1 over 8y. And the answer is positive. Because you're dividing both of those by the same number, in order to get a positive answer, it means x must be larger. So that immediately eliminates B and D as an answer, since y is larger in those two. Then we go back to looking at this, and if I quickly go through and divide each of these numbers by 8, negative 112 divided by 8 would give me negative 14, and this guy would be negative 33. Along with that, down here, this would be 29 over 3 and 28 over 3. The difference between these two is actually positive 19, making it the correct answer. This one is already only a difference of 1, and that would only get smaller when dividing by 3. So A is final answer. For this question, we're dealing with an isosceles triangle, meaning essentially that this side of the triangle is the same as this side when folded over. But it does tell us that there is a ratio here of 5 to 7 between this guy and this guy. But because they are similar triangles, that ratio is going to hold for all of the above. It tells us that this whole thing down here is 48, and we want to find this guy. Well, if the whole thing's 48, but the ratio is 5 to 7, 5 plus 7 is 12. And if I divide 48 by 12, that gives me 4. Now, why is this important? Well, if this is a 5 to 7 ratio, then 5 times 4 will give me this number, and 7 times 4 gives me this number. Well, 7 times 4 is 28, so that means our final answer is D. So in this case, Tina is playing a game. You can either do an easy version for 30 points or a hard version for 60 points. She does a total of 50 of them and got a total of 1,950 points. Now they want to know how many of those puzzles were hard. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is take this number and divide it by 50 to see how many points she got on average. Well, 1950 divided by 50 is 39. That is below 40, which is what the average would be if she did exactly half of them for 30 and half of them for 60, which means our final answer should be less than 25, because that would be a 50-50 split. But it's only less by 1 point, meaning it's still probably pretty close to the 25, so I'm going to guess my answer of B. I can check this answer by doing 15 times 60, which does give me 900, and then 50 minus the 15 would give me 35. 35 times the 30 would give me 1,050. Adding those together, it does give us the total we need. So I have to solve this right here and then subtract the two solutions. I'm going to rewrite this first number here, rewrite that last term over here. And if you didn't know, to solve these, we need two numbers that add to this, but multiply whatever these two multiply, which would be negative 30. Two numbers that multiply negative 30 add to negative 7 would be a negative 3 and a positive 10. So I'm going to write those. Then we're going to go ahead and split this, find a greatest common factor over here, pull out an x, which would be 2x minus 3 left over. Over here, pull out a 5, leaving me with 2x minus 3. So our two things right here would be 2x minus 3 and x minus 5 plus 5. Then that means our solution here would be 3 over 2, and this solution would be negative 5. If we subtract those two answers, this becomes a plus, and that's going to give us 13 over 2 as a final answer. I'd say go ahead and pause right now to read the question. Now that you're back, let's go ahead and solve this. So it says here that we have Alan, who is charging $8.50 plus per hour, plus $15 service fee. And then we have Taylor, who's $9.25 per hour, plus 12. Let's go ahead and solve for x here first. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 12 from both sides. That's going to give me 850x plus 3 is equal to 925x, and those cancel. Then from there, I'm going to subtract the 850 from both sides, giving me 3 is equal to 0.75x, and then I'm going to divide both sides by that 0.75 to tell me that x is equal to 4. So at this point, we look back at our original question. Beyond 4, Taylor's charging more, so that means that his value will be greater above 4. So right now for number 8, we're looking at this equation where this is the equation of a line, where this is essentially our x value, this is the y. That makes the number with the x value our slope, and this would be our y-intercept. So in this case, negative 3 is our slope, and we're trying to see what the definition of slope is in words. So when you're looking at slope, for each unit of your x, in this case that's temperature, this would be the change in your unit of your y, in this case the number of cups. Because it's negative, it means as one goes up, the other goes down, or as one goes down, the other goes up. So in this case, I'm looking, since they all say more on this side, I want decrease on this side to be the opposite of that. So we're looking at B or D. As mentioned before, it's based off the x, so for each 1 unit of x, we want to know how many changes in the cups. So I'm looking at a decrease of 1 for 3 more cups. Answer's D. So in this question, it says that the road drops 4 meters for every 100 meters. They're starting at 1,300 meters, and they're moving at 16 meters per second. So they want to know which one of these would represent the equation for when it's t seconds after entering the road. So in this case, we're starting at 1,300. All of them say that. So what are we dropping by? Well, you got to keep 2 things in mind here. 4 meters for every 100 meters, but we're only looking per meter down here. So because it's every 1, this is actually 0.04. We're then going to multiply that by the 16 because that's how many meters are going per second. So that's going to give us 0.64, which is what we should be dropping by for each second. So we're looking at answer B. This question is a little odd, but let's go ahead and walk through. It says f of x minus 1 is equal to 2x plus 3, and it wants you to find f of negative 3. Now remember, we have x minus 1 here, so if I want to put negative 3 in this spot, I need to make sure to first add 1 to that guy before I start plugging it into this equation to counter this negative 1 here. So negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. That means if I'm plugging negative 2 in for x, it's going to end up giving me f of negative 3, but I have to remember to plug in negative 2 over here, not negative 3. So negative 2 times 2 would give me negative 4, plus 3 would give me negative 1. So our answer here is D. Well, there you have it. That was 10 solutions from the SAT. Remember, go ahead and stick around my channel if you want to see more questions from the SAT, or maybe you want to check out my ACT content. Either way, go ahead and click subscribe, and you can see all my old and new videos on this channel. Again, thank you. My name is MrCaproni, and I hope this helped for your next attempt at the SAT.